Okay, so the first step is when you look at all the functions that the Instant Pot has, you have this function here on the bottom left that says saute, and we're gonna put that on. That 30 minutes is just telling you that that function will stay on for 30 minutes. So we want the pot to get hot enough so we can start frying the bacon for our pork chops. So you'll hear the buzz, it's telling you the Instant Pot is on. And now we're gonna wait for this to read the word hot. And obviously we know what that means. So then that's when we're gonna put our bacon in to start frying it to get the beginning of our pork chop dish. Okay, so now you can see the word hot has come up on the display. And I'd say it took about from 5 to maybe 8 minutes for it to go from on to hot. So now I'm going to add the bacon because we're going to start, and that's there's nothing else in the pot, nothing. So I'm going to add the bacon now. I use 2 slices of a good bacon. This actually is like a garlic flavored bacon that I got in Portland, so yeah. So that's going to take about 5 minutes for the bacon to saute, so I'll see you back in a few minutes. Okay, so now I've been sauteing the bacon for about 5 minutes or so, and as you can see it's nice and cooked and brown, so I'm going to be taking it out of the pot because I'm going to be using the bacon drippings that this rendered to brown the pork chops in. Alright, see you in a bit. I took the bacon out of the Instant Pot and I put it in a bowl on the side. And I'm going to now pat my chops dry so they don't splatter too much on me when I put them in to brown them. And as you can see, they're not terribly thick chops because the first time I made it, they were much thicker and I wasn't a fan. So, salt and pepper. I'm probably going to do 1 chop at a time so I don't crowd the pot. Won't take too long. It's good and hot, the pot. I'll use my fingers. It's okay. Here we go. So I'm going to put this side down first with the salt and pepper. And now I'll salt and pepper the other side. So we're going to brown both chops. And then I will be taking the chops back out of the Instant Pot after I brown them. See you in a few. Now you may notice that the word hot left and the word on came because, you know, I took 1 chop out to put the second chop in and that transition, but it'll go back to the word hot soon anyway, so don't be worried about that. Okay, so now I just finished browning the second chop, and as you can see, it did come back to the word hot after on. So now I'm going to remove the second chop that I browned. And so you got all that goodness in there with the bacon drippings and the browning of the chops. I put them aside. Oh, and if you don't have one of these nice plastic plates with a handle, I'm very sorry for you because it's a necessity. All right, now, half an onion going in. We're going to brown up half an onion. And all that goodness. We're going to saute the onion until it gets, you know what a good onion looks like. And after that, we're going to add 2 cloves of garlic that I've minced to the onions. See you in a bit. So I want you to see this because as I'm sauteing the onions as best my director can film, you see all this little brown goodness that I'm scraping up with my wooden spoon. This, of course, is going to add a lot of flavor. So I wish you had smell-o-vision because it smells amazing. But keep moving that wooden spoon around and picking up all those little bits and pieces in your pot. Alright, very shortly now I'm going to be adding the garlic because these onions are just about ready to go. That's the nice thing about it saying hot. It stays hot. And if by any chance you ever need to stop it for whatever reason, just press cancel and come back and start all over again. So it's no big deal. You'll see cancel on the front panel here. And, or like if your 30 minutes ran out, Just press the saute button again and you'll start all over again with your saute function. All right, so now I'm going to add my minced garlic to these onions. Of course, I know you know, Billy, not to let the garlic cook too long. Just a few minutes. And this, of course, smells amazing. Once I get the garlic 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, I'm going to turn the Instant Pot off. I'm going to press the cancel button because I don't want that saute function any longer. Because it's getting good and brown on the bottom here, so I'm trying to scrape up as much as I can. So yeah, because then we'll put the chops back in, and anyway, I'll talk to you when I get back to that part. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, first I pressed cancel to turn the saute function off because I didn't want my garlic to get burned. Okay, so the pot is off, but of course there's a lot of residual heat. Now the recipe calls for a 1/4 teaspoon. I'm using dried thyme. If you had fresh, of course you would use more, but the recipe calls for 4 pork chops and I'm only doing 2, but I still like using a 1/4 teaspoon. I wouldn't use less because I think it adds a really nice flavor. So I'm going to put in my 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme to my onions and garlic, saute that a little bit too, with that residual heat I was telling you about. Okay, so now I'm going to turn the pot back on, and I'm going to add half of this can of chicken broth. I'm not going to use the whole can because I don't think I need that much liquid for only 2 chops. If I were doing 4 chops, I would have done the whole can of broth, but just about half a can of chicken broth. That's going to be our liquid. That's the important thing, is having the liquid. That's what's going to cook the chops. Okay, now I'm eyeballing it, and it's getting nice and brown with the onions and garlic, but on second thought, I am going to add the other half of the can. So 1 whole can of chicken broth. I want to be sure I have enough liquid for our gravy. Better to have too much than not enough, right? Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to put the chops in that nice little juice here. There goes one. Here goes the other one. And of course, I won't leave behind any of this juice that came off the chops while it was on the handy dandy plastic platter. All that goodness. Now the potatoes, this is my first time adding potatoes to it, but I think it's going to be awesome. So, cut your potatoes in quarters so you have 4 pretty nice sized pieces, because when they cook, you don't want them to be so mushy that they fall apart. You want a good decent piece like that. So in they're gonna go. It may seem like a lot of potatoes for just 2 people, but whatever, it's just potatoes, right?
We like potatoes.
Yeah. And of course, can't forget about our bacon that we had sauteed up earlier. He's going back in with all his goodness. All right, so this is the rest now is we're going to put the lid on. This baby's going to go to town. So the hardest part, or shall I say the most time-consuming part, is what we just did. Okay, so that's why when you see a recipe that calls for a certain amount of time, you go, well, wait a minute, I have to cut onions and potatoes and brown chops, and so you got a little bit of prep work there, but that's it for that. Now, Maybe just rinse up a little bit. Now we're going to put the lid on and we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes. That's it. So these raw potatoes and practically raw pork chops are going to be cooked in 10 minutes. So with my label facing me, on goes my lid. You hear the little chime. Close her up. Make sure the vent thing is all the way to the right. And now I'm going to pressure cook. Let me get my glasses. Manual pressure cook. Right over here, far right. I'm going to cancel first and then pressure cook. Set for 12 minutes for something else I did. So you see plus and minus. So I'm going to bring it down to 10. That's it. It's going to beep once the pressure comes up. So this 10 minutes that you're seeing is the countdown. There's telling you it's on. It's going to start doing its thing. Once the pressure builds up in the pot, that's when you'll see the 10-minute timer start. And it'll count down. And when it gets down to 0, it'll chime again. But just leave it be, because we're going to let the pressure release naturally. And it'll do it all by itself. And then once you see that little silver knob, and I'm going to show you what it looks like once it comes up. Right now it's down, because we just started it. But once he comes up, I'll have Daddy take another video to show you in the up position. Okay, see you later. So now you can see that the silver little cylindrical thing has come up and the 10-minute timer has started. So this 10 minutes will start counting down until it gets to 0. It'll beep again when it gets to 0. This will still be up, because that's telling you that the pressure is still up. So when you naturally release, it's going to stay up for maybe a good 15 or 20 minutes. And then it'll flop down. When it flops down, then you know you can just turn this handle and open it up. If you don't want to wait that long, after about 15 minutes of letting it naturally release, because that's still cooking the chops, you know, then you could release your steam with this guy. But I like to wait. If you have the time, wait. Once that drops down, then you can turn the handle and open it up, and your chops will be perfect. And then you can make a gravy. I like to take out the potatoes and the meat, and then I'll add like a little flour or something to it, or maybe even some gravy master, and thicken the gravy up a little bit, and that will be the gravy for your chops and your potatoes. Bon appetit!